Okay, welcome to Gym Life, episode number
10?
10. Man, how quickly they fly past 8. Did you realize that the other day when you were looking at 9 going, it was only last week we did 8?
Yeah, I was looking at 7, 8, 9, and then I went back through our videos and it was like, you have 16 videos, and I was like, Jesus.
Time flies when you're having fun, man.
No wonder I feel like I work a full-time job.
Yeah. Well, we try to find we've been trying to balance this. That conversation we just had, right? We're trying to balance this. So, well, welcome everybody to Gym Life episode 10. And as Robbie and I were just mentioning, we're having a blast. And despite some of our moments where we just want to shut this stuff off for a day, recharges our batteries, gets us excited about coming back, seeing everybody, or at least having you see us and listen to us again for another week and getting more interviews out there. So as we always start off the show by saying, thanks again for all your support out there. It's just coming in, and we love it. You guys are giving us your topics and your thoughts and your viewpoints on a lot of stuff we're doing, and we can't thank you enough. Good or bad, keep the info coming our way, and we're going to keep all this stuff coming your way. So thanks again. Welcome to episode 10.
Yeah, it kind of seems like compounding interest, right? I had to force people to be the 100th subscriber, and now we have 135. It was like as soon as we hit 100, people like started subscribing. Like all of a sudden, we were legitimate. I don't know if that's true or not, but keep subscribing to the YouTube channel, because I did notice the other day, actually yesterday, there's stuff on the YouTube that's not on the Spotify. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, go subscribe on YouTube, because there's extra videos on there, and I have no way to get them back over to Spotify because I've already deleted them. So
yeah. Well, we
YouTube exclusive content.
I think they were YouTube exclusive. Yeah, absolutely. No, and I caught that, but I thought there was some method to your madness there. So.
There was, and some of it was accident.
Right. Well, in any case, we're moving right along. We got a lot of videos, and our subscribers are coming up now. And it's funny when you say 135. It's I know it's not a lot, and people are going out there right now saying 135. That's nothing. Well, yeah. It's like you said. It just keeps compounding and compounding over and over.
And I think for us, like, because of the way that we've done it, and I'm going to toot our own horn for a little bit, it's 135 people that actually watch our podcast.
Yeah.
We haven't ran ads. We don't push this out there to people that aren't, interested in it. The people that have subscribed to our YouTube and the people that have subscribed to our Spotify and Apple and Google are all people that listen to us. So one thing that differentiates us is that we have 135 people that actually listen to the podcast. Whether they agree with us or not is
no, you're right. That's a great way to look at it, because in all actuality too, we get hundreds and thousands of views on our other videos.
Yep.
And we just want to keep encouraging all you that are watching, and thank you again. But subscribe, subscribe for us. That gives us again, it re-energizes us and gets us going in the direction that we know people are actually following our podcast and being loyal to it.
It's the whole reason I do it. So it's for everybody to listen, and
that's the only reason.
Well, I mean, hopefully we're talking about things that are important to people and things that they enjoy or whatever, but that's the whole reason we do it. It's for everybody else. It's not for me. I mean, I can talk to myself. I do it a lot.
I see you actually do that sometimes. Yeah, I do. Well, anyhow, so weekend was good, right?
Yeah, I had a pretty good weekend, man. I switched coaches last week, and Saturday was kind of like the end of the first week of that. He's kicking my ass.
Well, tell us who this guy is now. You can't hide it any longer.
I can't hide it any longer.
No, you have to say.
So I have switched over to Ben Poley as my coach, as my full-time coach, leading into states here. And spending a lot of time. We poor guy. I was like, I'm gonna come train with you. By the way, I have 4 weeks to states, and he's like, well, okay, cool. He didn't phase him at all. He's got a program ready to go for me, but switched up some of my training. A lot of focus on mobility and recovery, which is something that I hadn't been doing. So that's been interesting. And then at this point, it's just a lot of, technique work, and, we're still kind of hitting a soft peak and stuff like that. But it's been exciting. I'm happy to be with those guys down there. Just what a monster of a gym. So I feel very, very, very small fish in big pond down there, which is interesting.
Feel good though, despite that. I mean, you're working with this wealth of knowledge right now, and just being a sponge and taking it all in.
And that's exactly it, man. That's all I'm doing is just which is it's kind of weird for me, because I'm the loud, boisterous guy at our gym, right? I'm Robbie. I'm who I am. But when I'm with him, man, dude, like I shut my mouth up and I just listen, and not just him, just the people in the gym that are training at the same time as me and the people that come in after me. There is so much information to absorb. Like I like I said, I'm big-eyed, like new school kid, dude. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff, It's so real fun. But yeah, so that was Saturday, and then Sunday I took some time off, and shout out to my Arizona Cardinals for going 5-0. Watch some football. That was that.
Some fun football to be had for some people out there.
Well, I mean, I'm enjoying it.
Arizona in particular, they're doing pretty well. The Lions, on the other hand, they always figure out a way to lose it right at the end of the game.
Yeah, they're good at that. You know what? At least they're entertaining.
They keep you glued to the TV anyhow. Yeah, in the end, it's usually pretty sad. And I think as a Lions fan, generally, what we say is, they'll find a way to lose, and it's usually correct.
Yeah,
it's usually in the last second of the game. So, so good for you training with Ben. I know that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I will just say, I know that this month leading up to States has got to be. You feel like your foot's on your pedals on, or your foot's on the pedal a little bit, but I know after that's got to be a pretty exciting thought too, right?
Yeah, and like him and I have had a lot of discussions. I've always been a very long-term guy, not just in my lifting, but in just business, personal life. I'm very big picture. So I have some long-term plans and discuss some of those with him, and he said he's glad to see that I have some long-term, goals.
That's his style. I mean, he likes
style.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm really excited for after States to kind of just get into this grind and really kind of see what happens. So
retool in the offseason, so to speak. Yeah. I think it's going to be great for you. I can't wait to see the result either. And I, of course, expect it because with Ben behind you, there's no doubt it's going to happen. And you're that kind of fucking guy too that it's a bit frightening in your own right. So
people keep telling me that. Yeah, Ben keeps telling me that too.
Yeah, you found your people down there for sure, especially with Ben. So going on in the weekend here, I did nothing. I just slayed around all weekend. It was a under the weather weekend for me, but despite that, I got to see some really cool content on the Olympia because I was following that all weekend. So that might be a good place to start.
Yeah.
It's they're a little bit better of a thing. Streaming was going on, of course. I didn't catch a lot of that, but I know a lot of people were recording a lot of these moments, and which was fun. So we'll start with the big open or the bodybuilding division, right? The 212. Let's start with Derek Longsford, who won the 212 class. Yep. Who I love that guy. He brings a complete package, and he has for some time. He's retooled a bit. If you're talking about a 212 guy carrying about as much muscle as you can possibly get, that's him. He looked fantastic. So shout out to him. And he's actually a friend of Jenny's right behind me here. Yep. And I see them in a lot of photos. And we're going to have Jenny in, kind of a little tangent here, but we're going to have Jenny in the next couple of months when she comes back to Michigan. And maybe she can give us a little insight there on Derek as well. But in any case, congratulations to him. That 212 was a huge win. And he's just a cool dude. I follow him a lot. And yeah, again, one of these ones in the back of my head that goes, maybe someday we'll have a bigger conversation with him. And then, of course, Big Ramy won the heavyweight class, to no surprise to some people. You're getting to that sort of category again where is it mass monster or is it aesthetics? And you can argue that. He's a mass monster for sure. He fits in that category every which way but Sunday. And then, of course, Brandon Curry followed him in second place, who's a more aesthetic character. And in my opinion, I like that look a little bit better. I know you're a mass monster guy. So, your guy won.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to, again, as a viewer, knowing nothing about the sport, just as a consumer, I feel like that heavyweight class should be the biggest motherfucker possible.
Well, you got him. He is. That's about as big as you're seeing it on stage, as a matter of fact. I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine, Dwayne, yesterday, and we were talking about, kind of what was the last guy we seen on stage that big, and jury's still out. I think it might have been Gunther or Scherklemp or even Marcus Roll back in the 90s, if you remember those guys.
Don't know.
They were pushing high 280s, 290s. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they said that Big Ramy got on stage close to 300. And he looked every bit 300 pounds. So your top five, then we go down from there. Hadi Chopin from Iran, who I love his physique. He's a shorter guy. He never wanted to go 212 because he wanted to carry way more muscle than everybody else. So I love that attitude. And then Nick Walker took fifth. I think Hunter Labrada took fourth. But you're dealing with kind of a 3, 4, and 5 there that, I had this conversation as a part of my conversation yesterday with Dwayne was, I don't know if you're ever going to see those guys really win an Olympia. Unless it's just that perfect year where they're competing they're kind of the new generation amongst one another. And I'm not taking anything away from Nick Walker because I'm a big fan of his. but he's considerably smaller on stage than a guy like Big Ramy or even Brandon Curry. And I'm just not sure how that translates, because in the back of my head, I can't remember the last time. I can't. And I guess you'd have to go back 20 or 30 years that a short, I guess, well, they're all short, right? Jay Cutler was only 5'8",
right.
but it's a considerable difference when you're standing next to a guy like Big Ramy or even Brandon Curry when you're 5'6" trying to carry the muscle like they're carrying. Aesthetically, they're fucking awesome. But boy, it just got me questioning whether or not we're really going to see that transition where the best physique is going to win, or the most cut, right? Or the biggest and best of all categories. And I think we're pretty much stuck with where we're going to be, is what I'm getting at in a roundabout way.
Yeah. I think, I'm not a huge bodybuilding guy. It's just not my sport. I enjoy the work that those guys put into it. But I don't understand all the intricacies of bodybuilding. There's so much to me, like we've talked about before. I think year to year it kind of depends. I think, especially with Olympia, I'm probably gonna get in trouble with some bodybuilding people real quick. So
yeah,
I'm just gonna let you know.
Let's do it.
Especially with Olympia, they kind of have their guy. Olympia seems to have like the face of Olympia for a 3, 4, 5 year period until the next face of Olympia comes.
That's right.
And they tend to win sometimes in what would seem to be questionable areas. And I'm not taking anything away from any of those guys out there. Those guys all work harder than me. They all they clearly, they're great at what they do. So I don't know. I've never been really big on Olympia. I understand it's the biggest show and that's the one that everybody wants to go and get. But when it comes to the men's classic, like that kind of stuff, and our men's physique, and I feel like Olympia kind of has their guy, and I'm not.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that. I mean, right? If you look and past Olympias, generally you got a guy that's going on a run for a while. They're going to put a guy as a poster, that look.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's a poster child for that few years.
Good for them. It's great marketing, but it's as a consumer, it's just like I'm like, oh, guess who's going to win?
And I think in today's day and age too, in bodybuilding, it doesn't. And there's little less controversy with that because we've all kind of accepted that. Just sort of what's happening, and whether you're in Brandon Curry's camp or in Big Ramy's camp or even Nick Walker's camp, you just sort of accept where you're at. And I think there's this idea that if you're just in that top 5, top 7, top 10, because now there's so much opportunity for a lot of these guys.
For sure.
It's not like you have to win the Olympia anymore to be successful.
Yeah. It definitely puts you on the map.
That's right.
For sure. Definitely opens up some opportunities. Just like going from amateur to getting your IFBB pro card, it opens up different opportunities.
That's right.
You finish top 5, top 10 in Olympia, it's going to open up some other opportunities for sure.
Yep.
So I think there's definitely, there's something to be had there for that. I mean, and maybe you're right. Maybe we just are okay with accepting, the poster child's going to win, and whatever. And the proof's kind of been in the pudding. You can see the difference between who wins Olympia and who wins the Arnold, year to year. The Arnold's a little less like the Olympia but even then, the Arnold's tend to have the same guy every couple years or so.
Yeah, I think if they compete, right? We were just talking about that a minute ago, that we're seeing so many shows now, and hey, great. You're getting all these new pros, and some people say, well, I don't like that. There's too many. I don't agree with all that. Listen, if you got the ability to give somebody, recognize them for their hard work and effort, whether they're, that top level pro or that medium level pro, or a guy that gets his pro card and's got to put some poundage on before he gets on stage. I love that. I love the more pro cards, the better. Problem is what you're seeing as a result of it, and it's kind of a difficult thing to navigate, is you've got all these shows now. You've got UK Arnold, you got Brazilian Arnold, there's 4 or 5 Arnolds, I think now, right? Here in the United States, there might be another one, and I think over in Asia now they're doing one. So you're taking all this cast of characters, this top 10, top 15 bodybuilders that are out there, and you're not really seeing them in one setting anymore, except for the Olympia. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you used to have that one guy that would win the Arnold every year. He sometimes isn't coming back now because there's different opportunity out there. So I think maybe in the end, the Olympia stage just provides us an opportunity to see for that one time a year, all those great physiques on the stage.
And I think that's great. I have my qualms with the Arnold, and we'll leave those to the side. Maybe we'll get into them or not. But I think we've talked about this in other sports, right? The differences in having so many federations and in strongman and powerlifting is very similar. We've got 6, kind of key ones. And, how do you find the best of the best really when you have that many different federations? And maybe it's not about that, I guess, as a competitor, it's not. I think you want to be the best in wherever you're at for sure. So I get that mentality. But as a consumer, like if the Olympia might be the one, then, we get them all together. But again, it's kind of hard to consume that if we know who the winner is going to be, because Olympia kind of has the face of Olympia. So it's like, it's cool they're there, but is it that
kind of everybody else?
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking of that the other day, because we're kind of inundated into this lifting community, and certainly with what we do it for sport, but also in the podcast, that are we truly looking at these things from a consumer standpoint? Or are we from a competitor standpoint, right? Because if you think about it from a consumer standpoint, do I really care who's at the show? Because I enjoy baseball. Well, I don't, but if I said that, you enjoy baseball, you can have 2 shit teams playing and still enjoy the game.
Sure.
Yeah. So there's a consumer aspect to that. Now, not every game is going to be the World Series. Right. So we're not always going to have that opportunity to see the best participants playing the game that you love, or in this case, strongman, bodybuilding, or other. So from a consumer standpoint, is it really an issue? Or do we just have an issue with it because we know who these people are and we want to see them come into one place all the time and compete against one another at that top level?
I think it's a little bit of both at this point. I think because the consumership of these sports is so new, it's imperative that the all-stars of these sports are always at the competitions.
I like that. Yeah, you're right.
Once it grows in popularity, it'll be a completely different story. It'll be more like baseball, where there's a million people that are fans of the Astros and a billion people that are fans of the Yankees, and that'll happen more in strongman, and that'll happen more in powerlifting, and that'll happen more in bodybuilding too. But right now, these top 10 guys in all of those sports are where all the consumership's coming from. It's because there's fans of Eddie Hall's and Brian Shaw's and the Stoltzmans that there is any consumership right now. I think there's less, unless you're a gym guy like us. There's less of just a general consumer for lifting sports. So we all kind of have our favorites, and I think it's important that we get them all in as many shows as possible together. In the infancy of the consumership, and then as things grow and people just more and more people will like these people you never heard of, and then the general consumership will grow. That's just from a marketing standpoint that it
actually makes complete sense. When I look at it from that perspective, you're right. I mean, it's in what you said that really caught my attention was these sports really on a consumer level are in their infancy still.
Yeah.
They need to showcase the best against the best, to create those rivalries, to create those Olympia moments, right? Yep. To create that, oh, by the way, these 2 met today, but wait until World's Strongest Man, or wait until the other leagues that are out there, so we can see these guys compete head to head again and create those rivalries. Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. I totally do. And we'll get onto that again in a second when our little strongman category here. But just to finish up, also the Olympia, Chris Bumstead, who, by the way, is my absolute favorite. I love the guy, his attitude. He gave I can't remember the guy's name now, and I apologize to you bodybuilding listeners out there. He just passed away, and he did said some nice things about him after his win. And I just thought, what a class act. The dude is a class act. Despite that, his physique is phenomenal in every sense of the word. When he's on stage, you're witnessing history with him. You know how there's just some people in sport, and we know this, right? I don't have to say, do you know how? You know this for a fact. He's one of those guys that you'll be talking about 10 or 15 years ago as a bodybuilding fan. I remember Chris Bumstead when he won 6 in a row,
right,
or 7 in a row, and we're witnessing that right now at 3 in a row. I love that. I love that I can be a part of that right now in my life, and I love the fact that when my son gets older and hopefully he enjoys the same stuff I do, I can say, yeah, I saw him, or just like we would talk about Gretzky in hockey or Michael Jordan or some of these other guys, right? I love that about Chris Bumstead because he's that class guy too that everybody gravitates towards as a man and as a competitor and somebody who puts us all into the sport he loves. So shout out to Chris Bumstead. And then, of course, Brandon Henderson and physique. He's another guy, if you like physique, I'm not a huge fan of physique. I say you got to work your legs. Sorry, physique guys. It's just a fact. I appreciate you working your legs. So I'm not a huge physique guy. But wellness, we talked about that briefly a little while ago. Of course, the Brazilians did well. Francil Matos won it. And let me just say, go to her Instagram page. And I don't even need to say anymore. It's a phenomenal look. I love wellness. Everybody knows that. Andrea Shaw, Miss Olympia. That's going to be that's one that I'm working on right now to try to get her in studio with us. You know, she's a Michigan gal.
Yep.
And she's won her second Miss Olympia, and she's head and shoulders above the class. I will say that. I have no problem saying that because she looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to get her in. I hear she's the nicest person in the world, and we have friends who are friends of hers, and we're trying to make that happen. That's just sort of a prelude in what we're doing here in-house. But I was so happy to see her win. No surprise. She looks that good. And I can't wait to meet her hopefully someday pretty soon here on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll weasel our way into that as much as we can.
Yes. Yeah, we will try to weasel into that.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. That's what we're good at doing here. And then, the other thing I watched this weekend that I think a lot of people probably did, or if they didn't, they certainly seen the antics of it come either before or after, was that Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight. You'd mentioned you caught a little bit of it.
Yeah, there was this rumor going around on the internet that Tyson was fighting with altered gloves. That has since been debunked completely, and I think that's just because of that's the style of fighter that he is. You know, it kind of fits that persona.
It does. Yeah.
You know, like you said, he's kind of he's a brawler, right? He's just a guy that throws a punch. And so I think that it lends itself a little bit to be like, he's hollowed out his gloves or he's weighted his gloves or whatever, but the dude's just a fighter.
They call him the Gypsy King or whatever it is. I mean, the dude is just, and it's funny when you listen to him talk, he'll tell you, he comes from generations of bare knuckle fighters. I mean, this guy is just a brawler. Yeah. I love watching him. You know, he was out that night after that fight in Vegas at a rave. For shit.
That makes sense.
I mean, it makes complete sense. And I thought I saw him doing some dance on TikTok one day about 3 weeks before the fight. And I thought, there's just no way this guy's going to be ready for this fight. Nobody looks like that. He's a doughy, tall, beer drinking.
Tyson, I didn't call you doughy.
Well, he probably admit to that, through his own antics. But boy, can that guy just fight. It was fun to watch. So I caught a bit of that off and on. And I guess he beat him 3 times. And enough's enough. And they're moving on. But Deontay Wilder, I guess at the end, didn't shake his hand and all that shit. And, I don't think he's getting a 4th attempt to beat this guy.
You know what, though? I know people say it's bad sportsmanship. I kind of love that shit.
Oh, stop.
I do, man. I kind of do. Like, I enjoy the old, Pistons didn't shake the Bulls' hands thing when the Bulls won their national championship, back in, the early 90s or late 90s. I love that kind of rivalry, dude. I think it's good to have rivalry in sport. Everyone's got to have a rival, and you get your ass kicked 3 times.
That's what I'm saying. No longer a rival. If you're that guy's rival.
Yeah,
at that point.
You're no longer a rival. You're just kind of being a little whiny, a little bit. And I got to be careful what I say because this dude could beat my ass too. But so I mean, I like a little bit of it early on, but I think after you get beat up 3 times, shake the dude's hand.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Like in sport, in team sport, it creates some special drama, or some history, right, between 2 teams, like the Sox and the Yankees or something.
Yeah,
it don't matter how many different guys are on those teams; they don't like each other. They
hate each other.
And I'm okay with that. But maybe if you got your ass beat 3 times, so you might want to shake the guy's hand.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah, you might want to.
You bested me 3 times.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're a better fighter,
and he's not any worse off. He's still making a lot of money. So at the same time, Tyson Fury, man, what a cool fucking dude that is to watch. You want to talk about being entertained. So I'm a big fan of his now, and not necessarily his antics. Some people might say, come on, that's not, boxing. Purists might not agree with the way he goes about doing his business, but we're in a different day and age right now, and that guy's selling the shit out of himself.
All right,
Conor McGregor-esque, right?
Conor McGregor. Yeah, listen, I'm gonna cover that real quick because I tend to find myself a lot of times in the purist camp of sports that I love. Okay, baseball being one of them. My last name is Millar. I have family members that played professionally, and I've always been a protector of the baseball purism. I don't like bat flips. I don't like celebrations. I'm like, go about your business. This is baseball, So I'm a big protector of the purist mentality. But I've started to flip a little bit, and because we're in the day and age, like you said, it's a little bit different. But we're in the age of entertainment. right now. We have entertainment instantaneously at our fingertips, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And if you're not going to be entertaining, like, there's no point anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I guess what I'm getting at is I'm starting to flip to the where I like a little bit of excess celebration. You know, when the NFL started flagging people for excess celebration, I kind of got mad.
That was a little extreme.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, we had people, pulling Sharpies out of their socks and signing.
That was
like,
much.
That goes too far, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I like it, dude. Again, it just creates that. It creates a little bit of environment. I love a little bit of antics. I love a little bit of self-promotion. And for the people that, it's not boxing, whatever, man. Like, I think the reason I can say this is because of my baseball. You just got to get over it and get with the times. And that's kind of what I've had to do with baseball now, and now I'm out. I got my kid out playing Little League, bat flipping on kids, and like.
I mean, I will say, and not to turn this into an all sports show, but, baseball, I mean, I kind of am with you in that camp of being a purist. To me, I thought some of those antics are a little much. To stand at the plate and watch your ball go, as it goes over the fence, so to speak, that's disrespectful. That kind of stuff I don't mind as much. Yeah. But I think sometimes, like even in football, there's a line crossed. The Sharpie was a little much. Now coming up with ways to celebrate as opposed to that spontaneous celebration where you're high fiving. And, so yeah, there's a line there. I still think, but I do agree with you. It's a necessary evil with what's going on today in this entertainment thing, and us always wanting
you gotta be entertained, or you're gonna be irrelevant.
Yeah, or you just fucking win in big ways, and you can be the boringest guy in the world. Of course, then you're kind of like an Evander Holyfield. Nobody really wanted to see him box because he didn't really win in big fashion.
Yeah, I mean, you listen, like, for the 1% of everybody in sport, they can just go on about their business and people will watch them because you're watching greatness.
That's right. Yeah.
For the 99 other percent, you better be entertaining.
Yeah. Okay. Let's leave it at that because I agree with that 100%. Yeah. You better find another way to sell yourself if you're not winning all the time. Absolutely. And there are guys that deserve to be where they're at, but you're right. If I'm going to a strongman competition and I see that guy, and who would that guy be at the last show? I don't know. I mean, I would say Jay Carmen to some degree. He's a goofy bastard.
I knew you were going there.
but he ended up winning, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's not Jay Carmen, but who I love, Jake, Jizo Pizza. We'll talk about you here in a minute too. But anyhow, you're right. You got to have that because I do enjoy that part of it as a consumer as well. Yeah. Even though I'm watching guys compete, and even though you're not the winner, if you're making my experience that much better by projecting yourself, I'm okay.
The only people that hate celebration are the people whose team's getting beat.
Generally, that's the case.
So it's a personal issue. It's not a problem with the celebration.
Yeah. So speaking of strongman, we'll segue in from Jay Carmen into strongman because he's of course a strongman competitor that won the Great Lakes 2 weekends ago. The America's Strongest Woman. There also was Masters Nationals. Anyhow, Strongman Corporation event at the Olympia this weekend, and I caught a bunch of that as well. And there's some familiar names in there. Not to forget some of our better competitors out of those classes, but I was more interested in America's Strongest Woman because that should be that's the pinnacle of the sport here in the United States, and maybe there's some questions that need to be answered about that because I'm a little uncertain as to how that affects I guess women as they're moving around like it does men in the sport to compete for the America's Strongest Woman. Okay, and I guess what I'm trying to say is this: as you're kind of going, where are you going with this? There were some familiar faces there that I've heard. Corey Butler being one of them. She took second in the heavyweight class, and Nadia Stowers, and she took first in the middleweight class. These are names that I see repeatedly on the competition scene. And then, to no offense to any other woman or disrespect, because I'm still trying to get a little more familiar with the scene, as we've mentioned in prior shows, I just went into this abyss of not knowing anybody. And just like we just talked about, when you get to these events, we want to see, continue to see these cream of the crop compete, especially at America's Strongest Woman or America's Strongest Man. I mean, we expect to see our top athletes competing for this title. So I'm curious, and we're going to ask Sean Shoemaker tomorrow when we have an interview with him. Sean's coming on. I'm curious why we don't see more of the American athletes competing at these top events like we do, and I use the reference over there in Britain and the UK a lot. Britain's Strongest Man, you're going to see the Stoltzman brothers are competing in Britain's Strongest Man. They're arguably the top number 1 and 2 guys in the whole country over there. Yet I get the impression that they look at Britain's Strongest Man as serious as the World's Strongest Man because it's their home turf.
Sure.
They're competing there, and they want to win that show. There's pride in that. I'm guessing, of course, that's what they're thinking. I don't feel like we see that here, because where were all the other pro strong women competing in the America's Strongest Woman? A lot of names, and I'm not going to throw them out there, but a lot of them that I'm familiar with weren't there. Mm-hmm. And I get it. Like Lindsay said to me, she was, unfortunately, life takes over sometimes. You can't make these shows, but that would be one you'd probably pencil in on your calendar despite that. And then at the same time, I thought, okay, this might be a good reason why we didn't see that at America's Strongest Woman, is because there was a pro world strongman event going on. I think it was in North Dakota, and Sean was a part of that show on the same fucking day. Now, there's obviously a conflict of scheduling there. Now we're talking loyalties and federation at that point, aren't we really? Because Strongman Corp does the Olympia show, America's Strongest Woman, and this show was done by United States Strongman, and no knock on either Willie or Dion, who are the owners of both those respectively. But it just seems to me there would be a little more coordination with paying attention to what's going on in these other federations before these shows are scheduled that could very well take those athlete pools and kind of water them down a bit. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what the turnout was in that show that Sean did, that pro woman strongman thing that was going on up there, I think North Dakota. But I can tell you right now, there wasn't a lot of competitors. So, at what point do we start looking at some of these strongman events and saying, okay, how do we coordinate these and how do we make sure we're being represented the right way? Because I know Brian Shaw probably doesn't compete at America's Strongest Man anymore. There's probably no point behind that for Brian. I believe they're all pros that compete there, though. Mm-hmm. So that would lead me to believe, where are the other 10 guys?
But why wouldn't Brian Shaw compete at
I'm asking. I guess I'm asking that question. Wouldn't we want to hold that title? I mean,
I feel like there should be a little bit. I guess that'd be a question for those guys, to be honest with you, and kind of figuring that out, because I'm in the same camp as you. I think that there should be a little bit of pride in holding America's Strongest Man title, and obviously your ultimate goal would be to win worlds, but it's just like any other sport, right? Again, I'm gonna go back to baseball or even football. You want to win your division, and then you want to win the Super Bowl, right? You want to win America's Strongest Man, then you want to win Worlds. Like, that's how it should be, at least viewed in my mind. When we start talking about, and you and I have talked about it in private before, but when we start talking about allegiances to federations, I think that's stupid. To be honest with you,
and I'm not implying that any of these people are doing that.
Right, I'm not either. I'm just saying, if that is the case, I think that's stupid on the athlete's part. I've said that when it comes to powerlifting. I think this weekend you asked me the difference between USAPL and USPA. Somebody had mentioned that or whatever, and my first response to that is, you shouldn't limit yourself to one anyways. Why not? So if that is the case, I think that's stupid. But I think you're right. I think, if there is some sort of, competition there or hang up or whatever, they need to get over that and start coordinating some of that stuff a little bit better. And you know what? All it takes is one of them. They don't even have to talk about it. I'm just going to use an example. Like, United States Strongman can go, hey, we're not going to do that event that weekend because Strongman Corp's having it. They don't even have to fucking talk about it. Just fucking look at it.
You don't have to swallow your pride and concede. You just look at the schedule, right? Iron Podium puts all this shit up. Right. It's not like, there's any mystery of where these events are. I just sort of saw that, and that was something that kind of led my mind down this path of are we looking at a situation now that's evolving that maybe could be getting worse than better in respect to getting our best athletes into these competitions. The whole America's Strongest Man thing, that begs the question, right? Why aren't we seeing that? Why aren't we seeing the Brian Shaws compete in that? I get it. Maybe it's beneath him in the way, but again, there's a pride there. I want to be America's Strongest Man.
For me, I mean, I absolutely.
I would think anyhow. I don't think that's a leap there. I think that anybody would want to hold that title every year.
I mean, why do the Stoltzmans do it? But
I can tell you they do it for pride.
Because it's fucking prideful.
Right. And they're on the top of their game, and in some way I think they owe it to their country to represent.
Why not?
I'm going to be there because I'm the guy that goes off to the world stage and competes for you. I'm going to show you what I can do in the backyard of where I grew up now.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you know what? Maybe we'll just have to email Brian Shaw and ask him.
Well, hopefully he'll maybe come on someday. Yeah, but despite that, we've got other people we can talk to.
Yeah, we'll ask all them too. Yeah, and, until Brian answers it, we'll put words in his mouth.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we just piss him off to the point where, right. But no, I think that would be a good question to ask any top
Anybody that doesn't
anybody
do it.
for
Yeah,
that
yeah.
matter. Yeah, it really would be. So yeah, Victoria Long won the first. She was the heavyweight winner, which I watched a bit on her, and she is a beast. Corey Butler, she just came back from World's Ultimate Strongman, because I remember now she competed out there, which is good for her. She comes back, she does America's Strongest Woman. I love that. See, and there was a couple others that didn't, and that's why I'm like, okay, what's more important? I guess Dubai is pretty nice. I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah.
Britta Maggart took third, and Natalie Stowers took first in the middleweight, and then Cassandra Conception. Is it Conception or Concepcion? I'm not sure, but lightweight anyhow. And I watched all these performances, and they're fun to watch. These are some strong women. They're all really strong women, and I get excited again about strong women in particular, because I think we both have said over and over again in the past few episodes that is going to be an interesting part of a piece of the strong woman community, is the way these women are going to exceed and go up the food chain as far as the global level or the world level is concerned. So yeah, that was my thoughts on the weekend. Not a whole lot going on other than that. I think there was a USPA event here or there, as there is always something going on in the powerlifting community. Nothing crazy though.
Yeah, there was. I don't even know if there was a USPA event. I'm sure there was somewhere. I don't know of any of the big ones that were going on, and even locally, we didn't really have anything going on. So now this next weekend, there's a bunch going on.
Yeah, and we're getting close to states too on our end, which a lot of people are, right? They're getting those state competitions ready to go, and those will be kind of fun to fall into from a powerlifting scene. We'll figure out a bit what's going on there, maybe across the Midwest anyhow, into some of our other the areas that we're kind of covering at this point. But yeah, we got what is it? The Rookie Rumble coming up for a couple people. So some new power lifters are getting involved in that, which we love that event. And whether that's events in your state or our state or any other state, we support those rookie events.
Yeah. If you don't have one in your state, you guys need to get one. Yeah. In Michigan, it blows up every single year. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This year, it's sold out in 6 minutes. And then
filled up competitors.
Filled up competitors in 6 minutes, and then there was 50 more competitors on the wait list. And then it got opened up, and then it filled out in the next 10 minutes, and there's still 50 competitors. There's so many competitors on the wait list, they just close the wait list because there's just no point.
Right.
And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year. So if you don't have a rookie event, I think it's a great idea. Mm-hmm. It gives these new lifters an opportunity to be in a facility with all new lifters. But it also gives the USAPL an opportunity to maybe do some things for them that they wouldn't do at a normal event. It gives them an opportunity to spend a little bit more time explaining, the rules and things like that before the event. It gives them a little bit more. You get a little bit more leniency at the Rookie Rumble than you will at any other event as well. As far as, I don't want to say the rules, because the rules are the rules, but
I think there's a bit more. I think, when we did it last year, or the first one that I was a part of was last year. And again, I piggyback exactly what you said. If your state doesn't offer a rookie event, you need to push for that. It's awesome to bring more exposure to the powerlifting community and with these new athletes. But yeah, I think what's really fun about it is it's that first show that these competitors get to experience that there's not a lot of pressure. It's just fun.
Yeah.
But they're very, I know with our chairperson, she goes over the rules,
right,
and then some.
Yeah.
It has a lot of fun. And there isn't get off the platform moments. There's, okay, you need to go back and put this on now. And there's like, we're not going to, we got a minute clock here, but we're not necessarily going to hold you to it if you're, missing a knee sleeve.
And the other thing too is like, you'll notice that like, even like the judges and stuff will be in the warm-up rooms, like at the Rookie Rumble, like saying, hey, I was watching your squat. You might need to go a little bit lower, things like that you don't get at other events. Obviously, there's that. So I just think it's a great event, and it gives them a place to be, even though it is fun, it gives them a place to be a little competitive at, right? Like you maybe going into your first event, you probably haven't, trained all that long, maybe, and you're learning a lot of different nuances of how to set up your openers and that kind of stuff. So you fumble a lot of things in your first event, and it gives everybody a level playing field. They're all fumbling a lot of things in their first event. So it still makes it competitive. Whereas
it was a great event.
For the most part, if you're a rookie and you go into one of these bigger shows, like you're not going to have a shot, not because you don't have the strength, but you're just not prepared.
That's the
for
big
what's
thing.
going on.
That's the big thing, sure. And I think another thing that a lot of not just young powerlifters, but new powerlifters, when they're coming in from training from a gym and not necessarily have the opportunity to train with a Ben type of character or some of these other training groups out there, but they're putting in their work in their own gym and they're learning how to powerlift maybe through a friend or two out there. There's another side to the game when you're at these competitions. That numbers game it could just wreak havoc on a competitor's mind when he should be thinking about lifting and not worried about what the next kilo jump is.
Yeah, and that's generally as a rookie what you're doing. You're going it through your head about, okay, squat cues, squat. Okay, I got to get ready for the bench. What do I use for the bench? Wrist wraps? Do I not use wrist wraps? What's legal? What's not legal? You have all these questions. You're usually asking judges and all these other people, and then you're like, oh yeah, shit, I got to put in my attempt.
Now, how much am I going to lift?
Yeah, what am I going to lift?
Yeah, and we ran into that last year a couple times because it was. Well, again, a perfect opportunity for these people that haven't experienced that, because there's those of us who were floating around that were kind of lending our help to these people and looking at it with them objectively. Or I remember a couple instances where there were some boyfriends there supporting their girlfriends who in their first competition that were just bodybuilders maybe, or not necessarily powerlifters, that were staring at this kilo conversion chart going, okay, I don't even know what to think about this here. Because there is a game to be played.
Sure.
It's just not at the Rookie Rumble is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It allows you to get familiar with making these jumps and stuff.
And that's what I think.
Despite how you finish.
Yeah, it just allows you to get familiar with the whole process, just from how long do I have to warm up to how long do I have to lift, there's a little bit of science to that, and it's different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like you learn at the Rookie Rumble, okay, I need to warm up sooner, or I need to warm up later, or these are all things that you get to learn at the Rookie Rumble in a less stressful environment. Maybe you're still nervous as fuck, so I don't want to say less stressful.
Yeah, that's true. You are nervous, but definitely less stressful.
But less stressful environment.
Definitely.
And then you kind of take that knowledge. And what's funny about the Rookie Rumble, if you've never done one, like I said, if your state doesn't have one, get one, is that the jump you make from your first event to your second event is astronomical.
Yeah.
It's astronomical. Yeah. Like, you leave so much weight on the platform at your Rookie Rumble, you don't even know it. Like, you feel exhausted, you feel like you've done everything that you can do, but you learn all these little things that you just prepare yourself eating between events and
the warm up. I think that's the biggest one, honestly. I've seen some people at that first event that were warming up an hour and a half ahead of schedule. It's like, whoa, because you're just not familiar with how these flights work and the rotation of them.
You don't know how fast they go. You don't know, so you're just like, as soon as they say, hey, athletes can start warming up, like, you go grab a rack, and then you get warmed up and you're like, I still don't lift for 45 fucking minutes. Right. I'm not even warm anymore, So there's that, and eating, and if you have a handler, it's a little bit easier. If you don't, so there's so much to learn. If you don't have a Rookie Rumble, do it. We're going down to ours to support some of our lifters, but also to help spot and load, and just help as much as we can any of these new athletes. So if any of you guys watch this show that are going to be at the Rookie Rumble here in Michigan, and you see me and you have a question, come ask me. I will totally help you guys out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes without saying, and you mentioned it, we're going down there to lend a hand. I know you are. I'm just kind of be watching. My hip doesn't allow me to lend the hand that I used to, unfortunately. By the end of those shows, I'm limping, but in any case, I would encourage every strongman out there, strong woman, powerlifting men and women alike, that it's important for you to not only love to compete in your sport, but to give back to some of these events who are looking for spotters and looking for loaders, and take part in all that stuff, because you're being there and you're participating in that is just really encouraging along that next generation of lifters and spotters, and it really is a good thing. So we always try to do that, and we encourage everybody to volunteer their time as well at some of these events and take part. And it's a whole different perspective, which is nice, right? Yeah. Because you're not just competing in training. Sometimes you can sit back with your Diet Coke or your protein drink and just enjoy the show a bit, but still be there to lend an ear.
Be involved.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just excited to be there, like I said, because like you said, there's a new crop of lifters coming in. I'm going to learn some stuff from them, which most people don't think about. But, every time I think a new generation or a new crop of group.
Right. We say that annually, don't we? Like, here's the new, but it is kind of true.
But it is kind of true. Yeah. But we there's something to be learned there too. I'm going to try to pick up on as many things as I can. But I'm just excited to be there to help. And that's the other cool thing about the environment of the Rookie Rumble, is that, like, you don't feel out of place asking a question, because there's 80 other lifters asking a question.
Yeah. Generally, if you listen quietly enough, the same question's being asked.
It's been asked last 27 times.
Exactly. Yeah, it is true. It is true. And every now and then, too, at those rookie events, you get wowed. Like there's somebody there that
there's going to be
that we're going to see that. I guarantee it. Where this guy's or this gal's never done this before, and you're like, so how long you been doing this? What, 3 months?
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit, you got a bright future. You know, that's the way I felt about a Little Miss somebody here. But
that's also where we recruit from.
Yeah, right, exactly. We don't. Yeah, we get to him before Ben does. Yeah, you got to graduate us before you get to Ben.
That's
anyhow.
right.
Yeah, he's on a whole nother level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like one step and then.
Yeah, so we had a couple questions, and I think we can get to 2 questions, right?
We got. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to go to the first one because this is kind of a question that we got in a couple different ways, and I'd like to cover those ones. And we had some really great questions this time, so thank you so much for everybody that gave us your topics and thoughts about some of our episodes and the direction you want to see them go in. We got some pretty detailed questions that I think are better saved for a bit more research and getting the right guest in here because we're going to have a little bit more roundtable fun with some guests coming up. So that would be less of an interview and more of a, hey, what are your thoughts on this and questions and answers kind of thing. But one we got was balance, right? Balance of family, work, life, and gym. And we got this from a couple people that are a bit more mature in life. And I don't mean mature like necessarily at age, but just right there, the balance between work, life, family. And when you're younger, generally, you don't have to negotiate 4 of those. You only have to negotiate 2 because you might not have a family yet.
Right.
You might even not have a job that requires you to be that accountable, or you're just not ready for that career yet. And your biggest life comes from getting up in the morning, going to lift weights, and trying to find out where your protein's going to come from every day. And I think we all went through that for a few periods of our life as well. But for those people out there who are trying to balance work, life, lifting, family, it can be probably the most difficult thing to learn how to do. But I think we're 2 pretty good people to talk about that because we both have work, life, gym, and family.
Yeah.
And the balance between the time and not only that podcast and some of the other things that we have going on, your day is shortened. You got to sleep at some point.
Yep.
So you have this window of opportunity to work within maybe an 18 to 16 hour window, depending if you get that 6 or 8 hour sleep, which I encourage everybody to do. Let's not.
At this point, I'm not even getting.
Are you
6.
sure? Yeah.
No.
But in any case, I think what it comes down to is there's one word that I use to describe that. It's dedication, right? Because I hear the word motivation, like you got to motivate yourself to do this, and motivation really isn't even to come and play unless you're dedicated to the idea of what you want to do.
Sure.
And would you agree with that?
Yeah. I hate the word motivation.
I do too.
Motivation is so superficial. I can put on a podcast right now and get motivation, and it inspires me to do nothing. I prefer the word inspired.
Yeah.
Because, rah doesn't do shit for me anymore. Like I have to have, and I think this is kind of what you're talking about there. I have to be inspired to want to do something. I have to be inspired to go out and achieve my goal and live my dream or whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. Motivation doesn't do anything for me anymore. So I don't like the word motivation. For me, it comes down to like at a macro level, just prioritizing things, and I think if we're talking about, obviously work, you have a little bit less room to negotiate, for a lot of people. But when it comes down to like family and things like that, I think you have to sit down and have an open and honest conversation with these people on what your goals are and what that's going to actually take. I think that requires a little bit of research on your part on what it's actually going to take to reach whatever your goals are. Have a plan.
Yeah.
But to me, life has always come down to priority, man. You have to prioritize what is most important to you at this moment in your life, and then you have to organize accordingly. If that means that, I don't want to tell anybody if your job's getting in your way of the gym, quit your job. But I think a lot of times in our own minds, and I'm a mind guy, if you haven't caught on yet, like I'm a big mind guy. A lot of times in our own minds, we put restrictions on ourselves that aren't there.
That's right.
A lot of times, if you sat down and actually journaled your day and wrote down hour by hour everything that you did, you would find time for things, right? So I think when we're balancing work, life, and gym, and all these things that we have going on, it requires us to be a lot more organized, a lot more prioritized, and a lot more efficient.
Well, you have to be good at those things.
Yeah,
you have
absolutely.
to train yourself to be good
and that's
at them.
and that's exactly it. That's kind of what I was going to get to, is that none of this is stuff that's inherent in anybody, but it's all learned skills. We can learn to prioritize things. We can learn to organize. We can learn to, really kind of see where our time is. Like I said, kind of jokingly, I don't think I get 6 hours of sleep anymore, because now I was like, yeah, Ben, I'll come train with you at 6 a.m., an hour away from my house. I wake up at 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really just you have to ask yourself, and you got to be honest with yourself, what's the most important thing to me right now? Because the truth is, something's going to get neglected.
Well, yeah, I do think some things can get neglected,
Sure.
right? I think it's a balancing act sometimes. I think the way that I go into it a lot is I don't give myself a choice. If you remove the choice from working out or not working out, and I'll talk specifically about that, working out, right? That if you're one of those guys or girls out there that give yourself that choice, I think you go down that rabbit hole and you get into a lot of trouble with that, because what happens then, inherently, we like to think that we have more time coming up, or sometimes we try to schedule it where I can do it now, but I can most likely get it done later. And what you find out is you didn't, and then you're a day behind your plan, whatever that plan is. And that just repeats itself over and over again. So one thing that I've done, and it's worked really well for me, because I fell into that trap for a long time too. Well, I'm working out at 4 o'clock every day, and I would generally pick that one time a day, which a lot of people do out there, that, it's right after work. But think about what you're setting yourself up for with work, family, life, and gym at that point. If you're saying to yourself every day, I'm going to go because maybe it is more convenient for you. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the easiest choice is what I'm getting at. You're setting yourself up for failure a lot. Yeah. Because for me, if I set myself up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon after a day's work, let's say, more often than not, something out of my control was going to happen at that time that would prevent me from getting in the gym, and it would just piss me off. Well, of course, I followed through with it because that was my family needs to come first. First and foremost, we all know that. And then what would happen is I'd lose that day, or lose that 2 days, or lose that 3 days, or my plan that I put together no longer was a plan. It was a complete mess of shit that I was trying to throw together to justify somehow that I was working out and doing the right thing. Often that happens with your food too, right? If you're not prepared or planned for it correctly. So one thing that I've done is I've removed the choice of my day. What was the best time for me to schedule a workout that allowed me no choice but to do my workout? And for like you, it was in the morning. And fuck, I hated it. I don't want to get out of bed an hour and a half earlier than the rest of the world to go work out. But I knew if I did that, I would hold myself accountable to my plan, and it would leave me no choice, because if I was dedicated, right, no motivation bullshit, I don't need that. If I'm dedicated to my idea and my plan, I'm going to get my ass out of fucking bed, and I'm going to go work out. And you know how good that felt? Because now the whole day's ahead of me. So when life and family and work and all that other shit comes into play, I've already beat them to the punch. I'm done with my workout. What's next? Oh, the kids need to be picked up from school? No problem. Oh, I need to go to the grocery shop. I need to food prep. I need to stay a little later after work today. I'm not that asshole now that's going, fuck. Screw you. I'm not staying late. And now you can be more productive in other areas of your life. So I think for me, that's kind of what I determine the best course of action is. And I know we all have a different schedule to allow that, but don't leave yourself a choice.
Well, I think it's funny that you say that, because I think I did a TikTok video or an Instagram video or something. I'm playing around on these things now too, because you keep talking about them. I actually did a video not too long ago, within the last couple of days, that talked about stop negotiating with yourself. Because you're way too easy to negotiate with. You're the easiest person in the room to lie to. You're the easiest person in the room to convince to do something else. So if you stop negotiating with the terrorist that is your mind, you just go and get it done. And I think what you just said is exactly it. If you want to be successful in balancing work, life, job, volunteering, whatever it is that you do, podcasts, you have to sit down. Like I said, don't write a journal, journal out your day. And when those things come up, you'll notice a trend, which you happen to do without writing it down, but some people might have to write it down. You'll notice a trend at 4 o'clock when I'm supposed to work out. 3 out of the 5 days a week, something fucking comes up. I need to move my workout. That's prioritizing, right? And if that's your priority, that you need to move it. And sometimes that lends to getting up at 4 a.m. and driving 45 minutes and whatever it is. But again, if you're dedicated, like you said, you're inspired to do that, It's not a big deal. It's
No.
not a big fucking deal. But I think that for the other side of that is some people get so excited about whatever it is. Let's use workouts, right? As this topic. Some people get so excited about the journey that they're on and the transformation that they're making, whether it be losing weight or gaining strength or training for a competition, that they gravitate more towards that because you get satisfaction out of that, and it's easy to escape the daily life in that. And by escaping that daily life, you're neglecting family, you're neglecting these other parts of your life that you don't even realize add to that thing that you're trying to achieve.
You're the success in that. They're the other pillars in your life that are equally as important.
100%. And I think that because I'm one of those guys, I tend to cling on to things, and I have to catch myself. Like when we started this podcast, it was like go, 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 and I had to catch myself that all my free time was being dedicated towards this podcast, and I had to say, whoa, Robbie, like that's how you burn yourself out, or that's how you piss your wife off, or that's how any number of these things, because I tend to neglect things as I grasp onto something. So I think it's just having a self-awareness of it. If you don't have that self-awareness of it, learn how to have that self-awareness of it. But again, these are skills and tasks that can be completed that everybody can do to balance.
It's a learning moment.
There's a learning process.
Yeah, because you have to learn how to do it. It takes somebody maybe that hasn't worked out, and I could see where this question would come from, right? Certain types of people, and because we've all been there, I can relate. Maybe you haven't worked out in 3 or 4 years, and you're newly married within a few years, and you just had your first kid or two, and you've got a job that's going pretty well for you. You wake up every morning and put your work in and get paid for it, whatever that may be. And now all of a sudden you're saying, okay, how do I fit in the gym, right? Mm-hmm. How do I become that guy I was, that physique I had, or that whatever that motivation is about the way you used to sort of be. And we all have that if we're a part of the gym, we've had the gym in our lives or had our gym life before, we always want it back. So the question coming from that perspective is, how do I fit it in? And you're right that there's a trial and error there for sure. That's why the journaling is super important. I love that. I just happen to get it right without, but I still love that idea. And then also you have to negotiate the fact that now you have a partner in life if you're married, and that generally that partner in your life is going to have the same sort of feelings on it as you do. She probably wants to, or he probably wants to get in shape as well, because that when you first met, you were on the beach somewhere, or you had the abs flowing, or the ass looked better, or whatever the case may be. So you can't leave your partner out either. And I say this to guys in particular, a little bit of a PSA for you, I guess, right? Public service announcement. Don't leave your wife out of this equation. Because together you have a more distinct advantage than maybe a single parent would, but you have a better opportunity of really working that plan. And try to include her in it, because the more excitement you get out of her, like with my wife, the more excited we are for each other's success and our plans. Yeah. And now we support one another when a day does get fucked up.
That's the key. It becomes easier for it to be supported. When
hey, honey, you missed the gym earlier today. Yeah. Guess what? Hey, listen, I want you to be able to get in there and get it done. So I'm going to do this, and this for you today.
My wife and I actually, we were lucky in that we communicated these things with each other before we were even married. If we both got out of shape, we were going to divorce each other. So the gym's never been a problem with that. We joke around about it, but yeah, including them in your plan is key, obviously, and including them in your goals. And I think that's just a relationship thing, right? Like that's just how a solid foundation for a relationship.
Yeah, it is, built. But it certainly works with what we're talking about.
Yeah, and it absolutely works with what we're talking about, because then, like you said, they're going to support you in that. They're going to go, hey, like you were supposed to be at the gym at 3. It's 4 o'clock. What are you doing? Let me take care of that. Let me help you get that done.
From you,
because on the flip side, you're going to come home from the gym and you're going to be, a better human being, and now you're going to help support her and whatever her goal is, whether it be the gym or roller derby or whatever, whatever it is. So, I think that's, man, it comes down to being self-aware and being honest with yourself. I think that's probably number one that a lot of people struggle with, is not being 100% honest with ourselves, because we like to think that we've got it all figured out.
Or there's a tendency to inherently to want to take the easy way out.
Yeah,
the path less, what do they say? The path more
Yeah.
Well, you're
Yeah,
better
yeah,
with that
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
stuff. It's
that whatever
the
you
clearer
said.
path, the
The
road.
easier path,
Yeah, right.
path of least resistance. Yeah.
There you go. There
Yeah,
it is.
but again, if it's a priority, the truth is you will make it a priority.
Yeah.
If your marriage is a priority, you'll make it a priority. If your food is a priority, you'll make it. If your gym's a priority, you'll make it a priority. So if you're caught up in that where you're like, man, how do I get back to that? You know what? You now wake up 2 hours earlier than you used to. If it's truly a priority, that's what you do.
Yeah, and talk about that for a minute. The idea is that you're right. Let's make it a priority first. Let's dedicate ourselves to the plan, and we don't leave ourselves a choice.
Yep.
Right, and we're not going to take the path of least resistance.
Yep.
Because there's that change that's difficult in the beginning, real difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, you can say it firsthand. We get out of bed 2 hours earlier every day. It's not an easy task that first week. I bet you it's easier this week.
Yep.
I know there's those moments it's not, but I guarantee you it's easier. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here too, that this, in the beginning, it's going to suck ass. It's going to be tough. You're going to question yourself every time you wake up and hit that alarm and don't hit the snooze.
Yep.
And then, trying to develop this plan is going to take a little bit of time, but if you stick with it, ultimately you're going to love where you're at. And I will say to all you guys out there, and there's going to be a few of them listening to this podcast, at least I hope so, because I want to reach out to these guys as well, is these guys that were, these big physiques and had this great life in lifting prior to maybe some life change that took them away from it for a year or two. You just have to fucking say, I'm going to do it. And quit wasting fucking time. This is an important pillar in our lives. And I don't mean that from a psychological standpoint. Your health better be top your list. And I'll always preach that because, I'm going through some shit right now. And I will tell you, you better be ready for that fucking fight. And the only time you're going to get ready for it is by putting your time in right now to be healthy and live a healthy lifestyle. So don't fucking wait.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing too. A lot of people get caught up in that, like, oh, the gym time is me time. It's selfish. It's not. It's not. Really, we were adding years to our lives or time to our lives, and that means time with our families if you have one of those. But I think it comes down to one thing I was told as an operations manager when I worked for Verizon. I had a sales manager who was kind of over me, a regional manager, I guess. And he always would tell me this, and I always fucking hated it. But he's the one that started me on this journaling thing. But he always said, Robbie, plan the work and work the plan.
Yeah,
that's simple. Plan the work the plan. If you do that every single day, you're not going to miss any of it.
Right.
The truth is we don't want to plan the work and work the plan. The truth is
we want that choice.
We want to have a choice. Yeah. We want to have an excuse. We want to have, because we're validated in that. We're like, but I've got a family now, or I've got a job that requires me 10 hours a day. If you plan the work the plan, all that shit's taken away.
That's right. Absolutely. There's a certain responsibility to yourself there. You have to apply that first, develop the plan. Get a course of action right, and then start doing it.
And start doing it. Execute. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I love that topic because that's a tough one, and to each one of us, it's a little bit different. There's no answer to that.
Yeah, for sure. There's no cookie cutter.
No, there's not.
We all have different things going on.
But let's talk. But the pillars are family, work, gym, life, right? Yeah. I'll say gym. I don't care if it's gym, working out, going on a run every day, doing push-ups, sit-ups, yoga, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. You better make that an important pillar in your life. Sure. I will say that, and I'll keep saying that. So yeah, good question there. And then we got one really, really good question from our friend Jake Harmon.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if it's a good one.
Okay, you ready? Jake Harmon. Jake's our strongman buddy, and Jake, I'm gonna make sure that I post today on or I should say tomorrow when this comes out, how to find you on social media. Jake is a pretty funny dude. Jake's tagline is, I'm a man. Yeah. Right. You'll get what I'm saying if you follow Jake on Instagram or TikTok. Jake wants to know, should veganism be banned from Strongman?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't really go with, let me give that some thought. Yeah, no, in all seriousness, I'm going to try to turn this serious.
Okay, let's get this serious.
Did you know, Robbie, that I was vegan for an entire year?
No, and that scares me.
Yeah, I really was. I was vegan for an entire year. So coming from a guy who turned vegan, and the reason I turned vegan was because I was going through some, I wouldn't call them health issues. I had a checkup at the doctor's, and I was 290 pounds and doing all this heavy lifting. And he said, yeah, you got super high cholesterol, and you have super high blood pressure. And, here's the pills for this and here's pills for that. And I walked out of that fucking doctor's office and I was like, I do not want to take these pills forever. This is ridiculous. I got to get control of my health.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time I was watching these documentaries, right, which are some good ones out there. Yeah, everybody kind of falls in their different way, whether meat's important or not important. That was the least of my concern. I wasn't an ethical vegan. I wasn't picketing fencing or picket lining the belt factory down the road or anything. But what I did was I got some things off that type of eating. I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. Let's see if this really works. But I was going to apply it to weightlifting. So I had my firsthand experience as to, can you really make a vegan lifestyle? And I get it. There's people out there that swear by it. I will say it's impossible to really be an effective strength athlete being a vegan anyhow. So by default, the answer is no in the roundabout way. But what happened to me is I dropped down from 290 pounds down to like I thought I was going to lose all this weight, right? I'm thinking, oh, fuck, I'm going to look fantastic when this year's over with. I went from like 290, I don't want to say hard, I would say full, right? To like this 270 emaciated sort of weird look, man, because my protein, you're not getting enough protein from beans and lentils. I'm going to tell you right now. And some people want to argue that with me, and I feel argue it with me. I lived it. I fucking know. My strength declined. My look got worse. I never got past 270 pounds, like beneath of it. I was getting like this high carb look going on constantly, and my lifts in the gym just took a shit.
Sure.
So to answer that question in one word is no.
You want to know what the problem is so I've watched some of these documentaries and looked into them myself too. I actually there's one out there that's really, really good and it will damn near convince you to go vegan.
Which one is it?
God, what is the name? It's like
Forks Over Knives or something?
No.
That one with the pill, magic pill?
No, it's God, I have to look it up. We'll post it on the Instagram, but so you can go watch it if you want to. But it really does almost convince you to go vegan.
I think it convinced me.
But here's what I've noticed, that if your diet's shit and you go vegan, of course you'll see an increase in strength because your diet was shit before. If you were eating McDonald's constantly,
you're right. Yeah.
And then you go vegan and start eating whole foods, you will see an increase, and you'll go, "This is magic as fuck."
Yeah.
And it's not. It's because your diet was crap before. There is a little bit of science behind veganism. I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a little bit. There's a little bit of science behind veganism. The truth is we do need protein. I think in the lifting sports, we need a lot more protein than the average person does. The average person probably could get enough protein out of a vegan diet.
Totally agree.
So there's nothing wrong with veganism in itself. As a strength athlete, what you will see if you did decide to convert to veganism, I'm going to put it out there right now. We are going to get blasted, by the way, for this, but you might see an increase in some of your stuff, in your overall performance and recovery for a short time, and then you're going to plateau, and then you're going to start accumulating injuries because you're not getting all of the things that you need as a vegan. As a vegan, you miss out on so many different vitamins and minerals that they have to supplement the shit out of their diet.
I don't know about all
well
that.
I do know.
I was a vegan. I just told you that.
Well, I don't care.
I don't know.
You weren't long enough. As a long-term vegan, your supplement regimen becomes extensive.
Well, there are certain things, right? Vitamin D is an issue, and it can be. That's a big one. Vitamin B is an issue.
Yeah.
But as far as all the micronutrients go, you pretty much got those covered. But I'll give you those two are the B's and the D for sure.
So you have those problems. Yeah. But I mean, if you want to go vegan, go ahead, whatever. But I mean,
well, I think from a lifestyle standpoint, if lifting and building muscle is not your concern, by all means, listen, there's no doubt my blood pressure dropped normal without any medication. Mind you, what veganism taught me it really was a huge help in moving forward in my lifting because I got to live what it meant to change my food sources, right? I learned how to cook non-oil vegan. I decided to go non-oil vegan, which is even tougher. But what that did is it carried over all these good ideas in my food today that I use not only with myself, but people that I talk with, because it gives us a different different options, right? We tend to fall into this chicken rice category, chicken rice asparagus, chicken rice green beans. What veganism did for me is it gave me an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the food I'm eating.
Yeah.
I apply that now today.
I actually think it's not a bad idea to go vegan short term every once in a while as almost a way to clean out your system. We eat a fuck ton of red meat. Red meat is trash for us. Like that's just, it is. We get a lot of things out of red meat, irons and things like that are important. But as a constant red meat diet, it builds up plaque in our arteries and things like that veganism can help clear out. It's almost like a cleanse, right? I think like every so often you should go vegan for like 2 weeks and just like clear out your shit and start back over.
Maybe I'll talk about that colon cleanse I had.
No, God, it's not. We are not bringing. God, colon cleanse up.
Yeah, I think from a lifestyle standpoint, sure, it lends to kind of the opportunity to reset your body.
Yeah, kind of reset. And like you said, there's a lot of things you can learn from veganism. Like you said, we as strength athletes, we get stuck with. Dude, I eat chicken. My family fucking hates chicken because of me, and I eat so much chicken. But it gives you more options, as learning kind of that lifestyle and how they eat and feed and stuff like that. But should it be banned?
Yes,
Jake,
yes.
No, yeah,
Jake, yes, it should be banned.
If
you're a strongman, ban it. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's a contradiction to what you're trying to do: build muscle and get strong.
You know what?
There's not enough beans and fucking lentils in the world to actually. And there's that one guy I saw.
If you get your ass beat by a vegan and strongman, though, then maybe you should, take a look at yourself.
Well, or vice versa, right? Yeah. Well, that's what you just said. If you get beat by that guy, you might not. You might want to take some pointers from his diet. Well, there is veganism, junk food vegans out there, and it's a whole fucking. There's a whole culture. It's a whole culture, man. Mm-hmm. It's nuts. I don't want to talk about it too much, but Mountain Dew and Oreo cookies are on that menu. Junk food veganism.
Wow.
Yeah. So there are some foods out there that you don't realize are vegan.
Yeah.
And I think from an ethical standpoint too, there's a lot of different things that you can't do as a vegan. But anyhow, I did it as a Whole Foods thing.
Yeah, I think that's the miracle behind veganism is just whole foods, right? I think that's what everybody should be aspiring to get to, anyways. Just when I train clients, like I said before, I call myself the realist trainer because I'll go to McDonald's, I'll eat bullshit every once in a while too, actually a lot. But I also try to hold myself accountable. But I tell people, look, unless you're gonna step on stage, and physique, there's no use in torturing yourself and that kind of diet consistently. It's just not sustainable long term. In fact, they don't do it long term. The key is to try to eat things as close to its natural state as possible.
Absolutely.
And that's just better for you as a human
in the long run.
Yeah, outside of lifting, outside of just as close to natural as possible, and you'll be good.
Yeah, we can take that occasional trip for the Big Mac. Listen, you'll never hear me say remove it completely out of your life because we got to enjoy ourselves a little bit.
If you're not enjoying it, what's the point?
I mean, we always hear that, and this may be a topic for another day, right? In moderation. That I hate that. Because it's the excuse to do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
In moderation for one person is not the same for the other.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that someday. But I think using that with sort of eating in your eating habits, especially when they're good, right? So let's talk about veganism in moderation, like you said, to use it as an opportunity to maybe learn more reset some stuff in your body. Sure, why not? And I don't know if it's official. I don't know if there's a timeline with veganism, right? If I'm a vegan for a week, am I a vegan or am I not until I get to the year point? You know what I mean? But who gives a shit? Eat good.
Vegans will never let you be a vegan.
No, they won't. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, it's a whole culture that I didn't really want to be a part of.
It's a whole culture, man.
It's just.
I actually follow a guy on Instagram who is straight vegan. He looks fantastic. His name's Nimai Delgado. And I started following him. I don't even remember why, but he's super, super vegan. But you could tell, dude, I'm gonna get in trouble. It is like the hippie culture of lifting sports.
It is.
It is like they like.
You can't get in trouble for that. You're speaking the truth.
Like he's not only is he vegan, but he meditates daily, which I actually am a big proponent of some sort.
Facets of
but like he's like journals, everything, daily affirmations, Tibetan fucking sound bowl, nice. I mean, full on, right? And I realized I'm like, that's the vegan culture. Like that's when you're in.
It kind of is, and I think that's the stigma that's been attached to it a little bit as well. So when you try to convert maybe a little bit of your lifestyle to that lifestyle. Oftentimes you're made fun of a little bit.
Yeah, you're like, do I got to start walking around barefoot and shit? And
start put patchouli on, and even though I don't smoke weed or whatever. Yeah, I mean that's kind of dreadlocks and all this stuff, and that's kind of where it's taken foothold in that culture.
Yeah.
But I think that in large part because we get back to that information thing, and there's so much good information out there that legitimately now people have this discussion within their own fitness the world, right, as to different ways that they can now eat and be a part of these different let's call them lifestyle choices. And I think it's cool in that respect. So I'm glad that I stumbled on it. It taught me an awful lot about myself and being disciplined, of course, because that's not an easy thing to do when you're going out to eat 2 or 3 days a week and everybody's ordering steak around you and you're ordering a fucking salad. I'll tell you right now, that is no fun. And then it also forces you when you're shopping and doing these other things that you're always conscious of where your food's coming from. Yeah. So it does teach you other things.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with being conscious of where your food sources are coming from.
Yeah, that and how you can eat and negotiate your day and who, if I'm going to go somewhere for dinner, is there something, maybe I got to be that guy, right? Bodybuilders do a lot where they bring their own food. But yeah, it's a different lifestyle, but I think it lends to the bigger picture, which is what we are a part of our gym lives, that we can use bits and pieces of this stuff now because the information's out there that allows us to apply it as needed to whatever it is we're doing.
And there's things that you learn in that vegan lifestyle when you start really kind of researching veganism and the foods that they eat as replacements for things and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. There is a lot of value in those foods.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of value in those foods. So definitely add them in to your diet. But I get my protein from chicken.
Still need protein source. Yeah, let's. And whey protein's not vegan for those of you out there wondering. You got vegetable protein or soy protein, which you better stay away from if you want to do strength, because that's not something you want. So, in any case, I'm a meat and potatoes guy now, but I have a vegan undertone to my cooking.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Someday I'll cook you in Korean dinner, and we'll go 75%, 80% vegan, and I'll give you.
Yeah, if there's no fucking meat in my
I'll
meal,
put some meat in there. Okay. I think you might, or I'll ask you. I'll say I make a hell of a lentil meatloaf. I'm not going to lie. But in any case, any fun question, Jake? Thanks.
And last thing, if veganism's so good, why do they always try to make it taste like a burger?
Yeah, that's true, right? Did you see that new Dave Chappelle comedy on Netflix yet?
No.
Just remember Beet Juice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just remember that.
All right.
It's pretty funny. So thanks for everybody who's tuned in and listened into this podcast. Another thing that we love to do are these episode podcasts where sometimes and mostly it's just Robbie and I shooting the shit about things that we're seeing in the fitness community. But with that said, we got, of course, a lot of more guests coming your way. We just released the Julia Renee interview last night, so that was awesome, and she's awesome, and I'm a huge fan of hers, and you should be too. The future of wellness in the United States, she's one of those names. With that said, keep tuning in, man. We're going to keep rocking and rolling here. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming your way in October, and we'll keep you posted of everything as we always do. So we'll see you soon. Stay strong.